Hello, everyone. I know it's late for you, so I will keep this engaged so that we can stay awake for the next 90 minutes and learn a lot about coaching principles for the HR professional. And just a tidbit of what Christina was saying, the program that is the embodiment that has dancing encompassed in it is called Dancing Leaders. On your spare time, you can go take a look at dancingleaders.com. So I usually do incorporate some sort of movement. And so we're just going to start this off with just a very simple, if you could just sway your body side to side, let your spine relax a little bit, let your head kind of follow that little snake and just let your neck relax. You can close your eyes if you want. What this is doing to your brain is it's taking it out of anything that might be fight or flight. It's also taking it out of anything that might be hyper executive function in the frontal cortex. And it's forcing you to come into the middle parts of your brain, which is where creativity and innovation and learning. Remember, before 27 years old, we were living in the middle of that brain. We were learning, exploring. We were kids. We were fascinated explorers. And now what happens is we get stuck in the front, which is overly analytical, and we get stuck in the back, which is fight and flight and freeze. So what that just does is it kind of just opens you up to what I'm about to go through. So I'm going to be going through coaching principles. Don't be like me and spend $15,000 plus getting certifications and clients and all of that kind of stuff to get your coaching certification. I always say, take my experiences, please, to better your future. I'm not going to be on this earth much longer. That's what my forecasting says. So please take what I have and apply it to who you are. Through today's learning, we're going to learn how to apply core coaching principles as an HR practitioner, how to support your managers and your employees with difficult conversations through coaching principles, how to shift, this is the most important thing, from tactical execution as an HR practitioner over to strategic influence, how to reframe, because that's big in coaching, is about reframing common challenges and create conditions for growth for individuals and for organizations. And you will leave with practical coaching questions and tools that you can use immediately. So we're playing with all of this side by side here. So we know HR is evolving. It's no longer about compliance or just talent acquisition. It's truly trying to understand how humans function. With the add of AI, it's really kind of splintering into how can we be human behaviorists versus how do we leverage technology. So we are focused on, or this is focused on, is what motivates people, what blocks people. And coaching is a separate practice from human resources, but it's a critical lens that makes us more effective in everything that we do. And when I say coaching, I'm talking about using skills like emotional intelligence, curiosity, listening, and reframing. And again, I'll lean a lot into neuroscience. It shows us that people don't change just because they're told to. We know this. There's only really 3 reasons why people change, but they also only change when they feel safe, when they feel seen, and when they feel inspired. And that's the power of coaching in HR. So imagine using coaching skills when your manager is resisting change, when an employee is disengaged and you just can't put a finger on why that is, or you're advocating yourself for a new program and leadership is skeptical. Those aren't just soft skills, they are called power tools. And if we want to shift our role from executor to influencer, it must start here. And I'll just give I give little brief stories, not long ones, but I've coached a lot of people. Last year, I worked with a client whose HR team was really struggling with resistance to this new work policy, whether it be the return to work or the hybrid, I can't quite remember which one, but instead of pushing harder, what we did is we used coaching techniques and we helped to figure out what is this unspoken fear, or where are the values that we can lean into, or where are the blockers to the acceptance of this new policy. And it really shifted the whole narrative. It went from resistance to buy in. And that's really what this is all about. So in this world, we are definitely operating in enormous pressure as HR professionals. Today, we're wearing multiple hats. We still are managing policy. We are now mediators. We are cultural stewards. Again, the heftiness of you have to manage the culture. We also need to be data analysts, and we need to manage crisis. And that complexity is real. We're trying to balance things like layoffs and DEI, and both of our countries are going through a heck of a lot around DEI, and we're being asked to constantly lead change and minimize disruption at the same time. So we're told to focus on strategy while being pulled into the admin work. And we're doing it all while trying to support the emotional needs of an exhausted workforce. So this is why coaching skills, in my opinion, are not a luxury. They're a survival strategy for our practice. When you integrate coaching into your HR practice, you're shifting from being reactive to being responsive. That's the emotional intelligence. Reaction is emotion, responsive is cerebral. We're building trust faster, so we're seen as the strategic partner. We're prioritizing what matters, hopefully without burning out. And we are holding our own in those high-stake conversations of in the room. And this isn't just about adding more, it's about doing what you're already doing, but with greater intention and clarity, and definitely with influence. So we're going to do our very first poll. So I'm going to let the poll masters pop it up. This is the question. What is the biggest challenge right now as an HR professional? For you, maybe in general, but for you. Do we have that poll, Christina? And if our polls aren't going to work, then we're going to go to put your answer in the chat.
Oh, it looks like it's coming through.
Okay. I don't see it on my end, but I'm trusting you.
Got 9 responses, 10 responses.
Okay, since I can't see it, you're going to get to tell me what the highest one is.
Yeah. Sure, we have 55 people and 10 responses. If you haven't put in your reason yet, please do so.
Yeah, trust me, guys, we need to get interactive because coaching is about being present, being curious, and using your intuitive listening skills. So
I think people are thinking about it now. We have 14. Okay. Well, we do have some others as well. But right now, we have, let's see here. You can probably see it in the chat window. The 14 responses that we have, 43% says getting leaders to listen.
Oh, then
29%.
coaching. Oh, I
Yeah.
see some people said they couldn't see the poll, by the way.
Okay. It might be, you might have to have that feature enacted on your side on Teams, but 29% said conflict or difficult conversations. 21% said burnout or lack of recognition. And 7% said having your voice heard at the table.
Got it. I do see some chats there. I saw some more people who are getting leaders to listen. I also see the lack of recognition. Okay. So this is coaching skills and truly embracing and integrating it into the way you do everything in human resources is going to help you fix many, if not all, of those challenges. So let's go ahead and move on to the actual change principle itself. So this is the heart of the session. It's something that I created specifically for HR leaders who want to operate at a higher level, the strategically, sustainability, and with that influence. I've taken years of coaching experiences, all of the certifications that I've gotten in coaching, and I'm putting it down into something that's much more digestible. Instead of being a full-time coach, how can we put the coaching principles into who we are as HR professionals. Now, each letter represents a mindset that, when embodied, shifts how you show up in your role. These are also coaching techniques you can apply with leaders, employees, spouses, kids, anything. And they're not just random, they're actually grounded in neuroscience. I've been spending a lot of time the last 2 years with neuroscientists, specifically for my Dancing Leaders program. And I've really implemented a lot of that and behavioral psychology and the real world results from the coaching practice of the people within my sphere. So you might already use some of these intuitively, but imagine what you could change if you practiced all of them consciously and consistently. And as we go through each one today, I'm going to invite you to not only reflect on how it applies to your work, but I'm also going to have you think about how to embody it, the physical component, the emotional component, and overall in your professional career. So here is your task. If you don't have a piece of paper handy, you're going to end up writing some things down. So have them ready to go. And I just want you to think, and this one I'll say we'll use the chat for. Which of these do you think you already embody the most? Just put the letter, the CHANGE. Which one do you embody the most already in how you are managing your practice? Lots of C's so far. Good. There's an A. Love you, A. So you understand the components of it, right? You're looking at these words and you're looking at the descriptions and you're thinking, yes, we're not good at all of them all the time. That's normal. What is the natural place for us to be is really where we tend to default. So we know that if we can focus on maybe what our least strongest one is, it's going to lift everything up. So let's continue on. We're going to start with the first letter, C. So compassion. This is one that you guys were very much, there was a lot of you that had that. And that's typical because HR professionals definitely, maybe a little too often, lead with empathy. We have that caring heart. I like to call us the corporate caregivers, and it makes sense. But remember, it's not, compassion doesn't mean you're too soft or too emotional. It just means that you put forth the emotional intelligence, the social awareness portion first. And when somebody feels seen and heard, even just for a few seconds, their brain shifts from a threat mode to a trust mode. And that means better collaboration, quicker problem solving, and more openness to change. So, compassion, and this is why it's the first one, is the skill of staying curious without judgment. And it's the courage to say, something's going on here. Let me understand it as opposed to judging it. Because trying to jump in with solutions or deferring to a policy, that is the fix it mode. And compassion needs to stay curious. And it's definitely not a nice to have in HR. We definitely need it. It's a must have because when somebody's performance drops or you're doing an investigation or with what's happening a lot with the mental health challenges at work, compassion's going to be the first thing you bring to the table. Now we need to start associating compassion with curiosity because it helps you to connect without getting pulled into the drama. It's kind of the art of caring while still keeping some level of clear boundaries. And those boundaries are going to help you stave off burnout. And it's about saying, I see you and I still have a job to do. And that's truly what the definition of leadership is. So, quick story, another one about a coaching client. I was once working with an HR director who, many times we have to deliver feedback up, right? So she had to deliver feedback to the VP about some performance issue. And instead of diving into like metrics or the analytics of it, She opened the conversation, and this is what I do with my coaching is what are the right questions to ask and when, and said, I've noticed some shifts lately. I just want to check in. How are things going? And that ability to create space, that one moment of compassion, led to the VP disclosing a personal issue. And that issue was obviously the big catalyst for the performance issue. But together, again, this is where we as HR professionals come in and we help to create solutions, but we have to help the individual create that solution and we help facilitate it. That's how coaching fits in. So it's a skill we have, but we're expanding on it. Now, hearing. We all know the difference between hearing and listening, but I love the idea of using my H because I love the word change. So listening is important, but true listening, intuitive listening, that's really what we're trying to do when we say coaching principles, because it goes beyond the passive listening and it's about embodiment listening, listening to the tones, the intonations, the body language. It's the message of I'm here, I'm present, and I'm not planning my reply while you're talking. And it matters to HR because we are often called into situations where tensions are super high. Employee complaints, performance concerns, resistance to change, or even something as minutia as a policy change or a policy confusion. In those moments, most people are not listening to one another. They're defending, they're justifying, they're reacting. And when you model that grounded, open listening, it shifts the entire conversation. And again, my neuroscience, here's my brain. When people truly feel heard, their limbic system relaxes. So they reduce the cortisol, that's that stress hormone, and they actually increase the oxytocin. That's the bonding hormone. And that makes more open to feedback and negotiation and potential resolution. So active listening is a superpower in the moments when you need to reflect on what you heard or ask questions in place of interrogation. It's more from curiosity. It's the tone, it's the type of question. And also remember, listening in silence is also important. You're creating space. So when I have a lot of interactive, but I want to save some time for these next prompts and these next breakouts. So I'll come back to some other interactive things so I don't run out of time. But um, imagine, if you will, an HR manager trying to deal with team members who are constantly doing something like arriving late, right? That's something that, especially if you are an HR manager who is dealing with a shift environment, that can be very detrimental to the productivity and to the overall engagement. Think about it, instead of writing them up, right? I had a coach E that we walked through that, and instead of pulling to policy or pulling to past practice, she basically said, can you walk me through your mornings? That simple act of curiosity revealed that the employee had all of a sudden overnight become a caretaker. And we know as HR people, we come in with the compassion and we do our active listening, but we are very quick to offer suggestions. Can you wake up 10 minutes earlier? Can you plan this? Can you get on a different bus? Whatever the case may be, we have to, as we pivot from being the people pleasers and the answer people to one that is coaching and curiosity and helping them find the solutions. So here is our first breakout. We are going to break you out into teams of 5, I believe it is. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to be broken up for 5 minutes. Each person is going to take 1 minute, and you're going to talk about a recent workplace tension or a hard conversation. You're just going to talk it out for 1 minute. The other 4 people in the room, no advice, no solutions. You can only mirror back what you heard. So you cannot offer advice, you cannot offer solutions. The person whose first name is closest to the letter A is going to go first. so that nobody has to wonder who's going to go first. So I'm going to look to Christina, and we are going to send everybody to breakout rooms.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Sure.
Okay, everyone's being moved now.
Yay.
So probably at the top of the hour, maybe, giving everybody.
Let's give them a solid 5 minutes. Let's see if they can stay within 5. But I still see 17 people in here, besides, you, me, and so maybe like 15
I think
people.
it just takes some time to process everyone through. But yeah.
Okay. So for those of you who are just listening in the background, you need to go into a room.
We have to be summoned, I think, though. We can't just go. So but shall we?
They were all randomized.
I think that's right. Nothing's happened yet. I've got no invite.
Yeah.
Can you now just automatically put people in rooms?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Maybe you can. Otherwise, I'm going to make you all do it with me.
I mean, I don't mind.
Okay, so all unassigned people have been randomly assigned new rooms. Okay.
Jillian, let us know if you get it.
Nothing yet.
Okay.
Someone disappeared, so that's a good sign. 15 now. I don't know.
Okay, so we'll do 5 people in here. I'm going to call on some people. So I'm going to start with, and I hope I get the name right, Andony. Andony, can you hear me?
Maybe not.
Oh, he's on a bus. All right. Catherine Willis, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Fantastic. You get a minute to tell us and gripe. Go for it, girl.
Okay, recently I went for a job interview, so I'm currently looking for work, and I put a lot of work into the presentation that I was going to make, and went along, did the presentation workshop. I was fairly nervous about the situation. They were all amazingly friendly, but I've recently got married, went away on honeymoon, expected to be told by the recruiter that the outcome. This was about 3 weeks ago. I got a call from the recruiter last week saying they still hadn't heard anything from the employer, and that their theory was that somebody else had just come in, another candidate that hadn't even gone through that process, and they were going to recruit that person instead. And I had a personal connection on LinkedIn with the CEO. I emailed him and just kind of showed him my interest in the role again, and just got a blanket, yeah, good luck for the future. But I've still not had any confirmation that I'm not getting that job, and any feedback for that presentation that I put a lot of work into.
Frustrating. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Jillian, you get your 1 minute.
Yeah, thanks. Yesterday I was at a strategy meeting for a charity where I'm a trustee, and I was interested to observe the dynamics between the board chair and the CEO. They usually appear to get on really well, appear to the rest of the board members to get on really well, but they were at loggerheads yesterday. And the challenge that we were looking at was, do we need to change the long-term strategy? Answer, yes, we do actually. And there are all sorts of pressures on the organisation, which led us to a session of what can we slow down? What can we speed up? What do we continue at pace? A sort of variation of a stop, start, continue. And the CEO and her senior team that were present could not accept anything slowing down. everything was in the speed up or continue mode. And towards the end of the meeting, there was a complete lack of communication between the two parties, the chair and the CEO. The meeting ended on a really not very helpful note, and we didn't achieve what we needed to achieve. So I'm now thinking, as a trustee and also as the HR person there, I lead the People and Development Committee. I need to find a way of bringing these two very smart people together in a way that they can find a solution to the challenge that we've got and accept that something needs to shift. So that's where I am at the moment, and it does feel very challenging to be in this space, not as a team member, not as a paid team member, in an advisory role, but also having some accountability actually for the health of the organisation in terms of a trustee. So I'm feeling a little bit conflicted because my normal HR thing is kicking in, but that's not really my role there, and there isn't an HR director in the organisation. It's a tiny charity. So yeah, that's where I am at the moment, and I'm in a really curious space as I reflect on what happened yesterday.
Many hats, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One more. Jean, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. Hi everyone. We're having an ER case right now, which is a bit weird because it's a youngish guy that's been working for the company. Basically, his dad is a big name in the industry, so he's a little bit protected. Kind of everyone knows what's happening to him. The company's not doing so well, so this new guy was meant to be in the sales team, but he's been more in the admin team because that's where we need somebody. But he's not liking it. He's not very good at it. So it's been a bit tricky because, yeah, he doesn't like his role. He's making a lot of mistakes. Some of them are for like quotes, and so they've been a little bit costly to the company as well because the client's been misquoted, and then he's also claiming. I mean, he's also saying it's impacting his mental health because he lives at his parents. He's kind of isolated. So we want to take this seriously. We want to try and help him, but then also it's not a great fit for the role. So his manager has tried to coach him, but it's quite difficult because he's just not really interested in it. And so we suggested that we might need to have a performance improvement plan in place to change this. And now he's been signed off sick for 2 weeks for stress at work. There is some email issues as well. We saw that he actually sent our communications to his dad. So there's just kind of a lot of weird layers. We're not sure what's going to leak where from. And it's just been the company is quite keen to get rid of him and kind of offered a settlement agreement, which has also been forwarded to the dad. So it's just a bit of it's very difficult. Like mental health is real. There's lots of people struggling with it, but it's very annoying when somebody seems to be playing that card, but we don't really know. But also, like, why are you staying in a job you hate? So yeah, it's a fun one.
Layer. Yeah, that's tough. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, Christina, let's bring everybody in.
Okay, I'm closing the rooms. Okay, and they're moving all back in.
Awesome.
There we go. If you haven't gone on mute yet, please definitely put yourselves on mute.
All right, so as people are coming back in, so for those people, and you can put it in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself and chime in, how did it feel to be listened to that way? Anybody want to chime in and tell me how that felt?
I will. It felt like I mattered. It felt like what I was saying mattered.
Nice. I see also Catherine put in here safe. I like that. Freeing. Yeah, get it off your shoulders. Lorraine, totally hear you. You wanted to jump in there, didn't you? So what changed when you weren't allowed to fix the other person? What did you feel? Again, you can unmute or just frustrated. More empathy. Oh, good, Jillian.
Cathartic.
Nice. Yes, Farzana.
Yeah, I thought it was an opportunity to reflect while they were giving their version without what normally you tend to just sort of jump in and your mind's racing. How can we fix the issue, or what can we suggest as an alternative? I mean, especially for Jean, when she mentioned about the boss's son, or the employee who's got so many issues, and your brain's sort of thinking, oh well, he could do X, Y, and Z, and he could do this, that, and whatever. But I think it's nice to take a step back, and reflect, and give a whole picture in terms of what potential resolutions could be, rather than sort of jumping in and out of that conversation. So I think it's useful from that sense.
And thank you so much, Farzana. And who was, I think it was Monica. You're right. It allows you to stop, knowing that you do not need to offer advice or solutions. Your whole role is just to listen. It's amazing what you are able to actually hear when you are not worried and you're not put in a position to actually have to solve anything. It's about creating the space, right? And the areas that feel uncomfortable, where I want to jump in, or I had an idea, or I had that same situation and I would love to give them my advice, that uncomfortable little, I can't fix things at the moment, is going to learn how to dissipate from your body. That's the embodiment portion of it. The more you're present without fixing anything and just simply witnessing, because that's a lot of times what we are here to do in HR, what you're going to do is start to be seen as someone who is actively listening, who is compassionate, and who can honestly help somebody in a stressful situation. So here are some things to think about when we think about what does coaching mean when we're looking at the compassion and hearing. It means acknowledge and validate. Now, this is the first thing we learn in any coaching certification program, in any place that you go to. Acknowledge and validate. And here are some things of what it sounds like. So let's say you're trying to normalize the person's experience. You want to make them feel seen, understood, and that it's not wrong to have that feeling or reaction. It's creating psychological safety. It's signaling that it's okay to have this reaction. You're not being judged here. It's helping also to reduce emotional defensiveness when you use acknowledge and validate. It's helping the brain shift from the amygdala, the fight, flight, freeze, so that they're open to reflection and then future action. It's something that is strengthening trust and communication, because building the rapport and making it more likely the person will lean into the conversation if they're feeling trusted of you. And it's also helping people feel heard, which we just did before asking them to change, right? You can redirect behavior if someone feels misunderstood or shamed, once you're able to reduce the potential fears. This is your first skill in coaching, acknowledging and validating. So moving on to the A, feedback. The word alone makes us all flinch in both giving it and receiving it. But in HR, feedback is part of our daily lives, right? It's what we're really called to do most of the time. And whether you're supporting a manager, or you're navigating a performance issue in your own team, or you're trying to even correct maybe a cultural misstep that happened in your organization, feedback is the bridge between observation and improvement. But it is kind of difficult because it's ambiguous, which is why it's called actionable feedback here. Getting somebody to say you're not meeting expectations. Cool, which ones? Or this isn't working. What exactly isn't working? Or my favorite, which was one of the things we just heard in our last breakout, the radio silence. followed by a surprise. Yay, right? Those aren't actionable feedback. Actionable feedback is clarity and care. And it's specific. It's like SMART goals. It's specific, it's timely, and it invites the other person to do something different without feeling attacked. And this was really interesting in studying my neuroscience. Did you know? I should have had a did you know banner. When feedback is vague or harsh, it lights up the same part of the brain as physical pain. But it's easier and it's clearer when it's goal-oriented or it's paired with some sense of support, because that activates problem solving and motivation. Hopefully, if you take anything away, remember vague and harsh feedback, which is highly subjective and one person's perception, we're going to do an exercise, can cause the same amount of pain as physical pain. And at HR Pros, we can model this every single day, guys. This is what if we can espouse coaching principles into where we live, we can say, hey, here's what I'm noticing, and here's the impact I'm seeing, or what support would help you move this forward. These are things that we've said in HR before, or we want to see you succeed. Let's work through this together. But that in and of itself is not necessarily actionable feedback. It is a bridge. But in the coaching skills, what you want to do is spark change, not shame. So I want to make sure that what we're doing is about intentional, actionable feedback that has the compassion and the hearing attached to it. So what does that look like? Imagine being somebody who knows all the answers to all the questions. Now, if you're in people pleaser mode, we tend to want to solve problems because we know the answers. And I have to say, but how many people remember doing what they were told when somebody told you that they knew the answers, and that really wasn't what the answer was? And most of this is because of our past experiences. And those in coaching, we call limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs, the vast majority of them, are things that we learned the answers to when we were younger, when we relied on somebody else to get us out of trouble. And we constantly pull on those limiting beliefs to analyze our current situation that we're in. So when you think about actionable feedback, the challenge with limiting beliefs is we aren't children anymore, and we need to change our behavior from just fixing it to the how. How do we fix it? How will it impact? How will it show up both in ourselves and for anybody else that we are looking to help? When coaching, one of the most important things to remember, and so this is one way to start to get to actionable feedback, one question at a time. And of course, make sure they are not leading questions and they are not close-ended questions. The best questions are to move growth, to move the conversation. And to do that, we use what are called clarifying questions. So here's some examples of clarifying questions. If you want to think about behavioral clarity, can you describe a specific situation where you felt they weren't professional? So let's say we've got a manager who's coming to you and saying, I've got an employee and he's not professional enough. So let's get some clarity around what does that behavior look like? So what exactly did you observe and what did they say or do? Then let's talk about clarifying impact awareness. How did their behavior impact the team or the work or even the client relationship? And what's the risk if it continues? You want a desired outcome. So let's say that manager is like, how do I fix this? If they were showing up professionally, what would that look like? It's my favorite question, because to be able to define what good looks like is going to be half of the battle. Or you could have the manager ask, what's the shift you're hoping to see from them moving forward? And make that manager think more clearly, more deeply about what does professional mean. Self-awareness, and this is where we're going to get into it. How have you addressed this with them so far? How many times did they come to us and they haven't even bothered to talk to the person? The other one is, what support do you think they may need to make the shift? Again, forcing accountability onto the manager to find solutions. And then the last one, which is the next step of ownership. So what's one clear, actionable message, Mr. Manager, Mrs. Manager, you want them to walk away with after your next conversation? So asking clarifying questions helps the manager better identify what limiting beliefs they are experiencing and supporting their growth in awareness and the articulation of expectations of the role. And of course, thereby the individual and that person's behavior. But the level of clear feedback helps the employee understand which behaviors are not being seen as professional. But here's the thing, it also pushes the manager to question if his assumptions of professional behavior are just his perceptions and not what's actually expected of the role. Again, we're taking the baggage, the backpack of history, the backpack of experience, and we're trying to apply it to absolutely everything. It's a reference point, people. It's not an application. So what I would love is, we're going to do a spotlight. I need a volunteer for someone to be my manager, for someone to be an HR leader, and for someone to be an observer. Just raise your hand, and then Christina's going to pin you so we can all look at you. Who would like to be a happy volunteer for this situation? Jean's got her hand up. There's one. I need two more people. Stefania, thank you. And Sue. All right, let's pin those people. All right, so Sue, I'm going to have you be the manager. Stefania, I'm going to have you be the coach. And Jean, I'm going to have you be the observer. So, Sue, as the manager, you have this unprofessional feedback situation. So I'd love for you to articulate to Stefania, as the manager, what your issue is with the employee. And then Stefania, I want you to try to get that manager, Sue, to better clarify what's wrong with the situation. And then Jeannie, you're going to pop in at the very end and give me observations and anything that we might have missed. Sue?
Stefania, can you put up your hand one more time so I can find you? I'm just going through my list here.
There we go. If you guys want to come on camera, that would be really helpful too, because y'all know that you can read people better than you can just listen to people.
There we go.
All right, Sue,
Perfect.
you're up.
Oh, my camera is not working, but so I need, so you said that unprofessional behavior, right?
Correct. You're the manager with an employee who has unprofessional behavior.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Who's the HR? Sorry, Stefania.
Me. I am your HR.
Hi, Stefania. How are you doing today? You okay?
Yes,
I need your help.
Tell me.
I have John. He's been really, customer has been complaining about his behavior. We had some really bad feedback on the Google review, and I don't know what to do with him. So that's been ongoing for a while now, and previous manager didn't do anything. Everyone knows about him, and they just, keep saying that's how he is. I need your help.
Sure.
Can you talk to him?
Can we define first what are the complaints that are said? What is the behavior that they are explaining?
He's a bit pushy. He's a sales guy, obviously, so he's a bit pushy with customer, trying to sell more and more. So this type of things.
Why this is perceived as negative when he is embodying his role? Eventually, he's even thinking to be working well in some way.
Yeah, but customers are not happy because they feel that they've been pushed to buy stuff that they don't necessarily need now, and they're putting bad reviews.
Okay. So what do you think to do with this? What would you like to see instead in him, in them?
Sorry, say again?
What would you like to see as behavior, as difference? Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. We can hear you.
Okay.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I asked, what would you like to see as different behavior?
Well, we need to have better reviews. It's important that people feel happy and give positive feedback. I don't know what to do. I'm not sure. That's why I need your help.
Absolutely. But
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. That was
okay.
excellent, Stefania. Jeannie, go ahead and give me some observations.
Yeah, I thought that was quite interesting. It felt very very similar to a lot of actual situations I find, where people come to you, they don't really know what they want, but they want you to miraculously do something. But yes, I thought it was great that Stefania was asking for more context, more detail on what the bad behavior is, because you can't work on something if you don't know what it is about. And yeah, I think it's quite typical of a manager that doesn't want to manage. So they want HR to step in as soon as there's an issue. I would have pushed a little bit more, but I guess that was limited in time. But yeah, I guess looking into what has been tried already, and I think it was really good to ask for more details, which the details were still a little bit vague. There was no concrete examples. We don't know if anything has been done. It's interesting because I think that's also often the case. It was an inherited kind of performance issue. As Sue said, oh, his previous manager was the same. And it's like, well, yeah, but if the previous manager didn't do anything, doing nothing obviously doesn't work. So yeah, so it's very, very good to see that. Yeah.
It was
and it
really
sounds
great
like
role modeling for sure.
Yeah. But I think that there is a lot of time in this situation, a lack of communication, because eventually the employee was really thinking to be doing well, because eventually they were not aware to be causing all this stress around, etc. And just because even the previous manager didn't approach them because they didn't know how to, they went on doing it. So rather than being oppositional or confrontational. And I feel that sometimes managers take it very personal. It's like the employee is not working well against them, which is not the point, because I think that everyone wants to work in a way that is efficient, because to be efficient make us feel good that we are able to do well our job, etc. So in this point of view, managers should really approach employee in a way that is more, as you said, curious and listening and open to see what is going on there, that you are not performing as I think you should have done.
It's staying curious, right, Stefania? It's like we need to, as HR people, continue to model that. And I think from Sue, I'm guessing this is a real life example because I'm also seeing in the chat, people are like, yeah.
Very close. I got inspired,
Exactly.
I have to say.
So it's part of it is, so let's go ahead and unpin them so we can just get everybody in there. But part of it is, first off, Stefania, what is the behavior? Great first question. Great first question. Make them articulate what it is that we're identifying as bad. And yes, we do have some concrete evidence, right? We have a Google report. And the question is, but is that the only Google report that says that? Has there been others that were different? So it could very well be a perception issue of that client. All of these things are questions. And so then you asked, why is that considered negative? It seems like he's leaning into his competencies. The leaning into his competencies, I'd hold that for maybe a second. It's a little leading. So, what is it that's negative? Make the manager articulate what's negative. What was in the review? Why do we feel that that's negative? Did you follow up with the customer? That kind of stuff. While yes, salespeople tend to be pushy, I know many salespeople who approach all sales as an emotional intelligence person. So they get people who love them within 5 minutes because of the way that they're approaching it. The customer is like, oh my God, I want to work with you because you're so nice. But great job. So let's move on to the next one. I did have two that I was going to do, but I'm only going to end up doing this one because I'm looking at my clock. So let's move on to N. Sounds like I might need to do a part 2. The N, let's talk growth. This is nurturing growth. It's not just development plans or training, but it's actually internal expansion, right? So we're nurturing the growth is a coaching principle because it's not about doing growth to someone. It's about creating conditions where people can grow because of you, not in spite of you, not from the pushing, but the desired draw to grow. HR's often stuck between we need everyone to perform and we need you to be more human, right? And it's a balancing act. Growth happens when people feel, we all know the word, psychologically safe to ask questions or psychologically safe to try new things and fail. They also grow when there's space to stretch, but there's usually a support net, right? They also grow from that actionable feedback, right? That feedback needs to be future focused. The feedback needs to be about what is it that you think you need going forward. And what's happening in the brain? Well, that lovely prefrontal cortex that blocks us half the time with analysis paralysis, it can't fully engage when we're in any kind of fear or shame or uncertainty. And so if we want people to learn and innovate and develop new behaviors, we need to reduce that threat, right? We need to increase clarity, purpose, and encouragement. Now, we need to create the environment for growth, and coaching helps us identify through curiosity and being kind of a fascinated explorer, always being like, why did that happen? That's what it would take to create the environment. Keep asking questions of what it means to create a growth environment. So let's jump to a poll. Let's see if we can get our polls working again. And if not, go to the chats. Oops, I just covered myself. So what gets in the way of growth in your organization? Oh, I see the polls now over on my side. So is it fear of failure? Is micromanagement? No clear path for advancements. We're running the gamut right now, people. Get on in there. Cool. 10 responses. What else? Keep going. So I can see it in the chat if anybody else is having a problem. Lack of trust, lack of space. Okay. It's a little bit all over. But the clear path for advancement seems to be winning so far. Senior people want to keep control. Yeah. Micromanagement. Totally get you. Okay, so if we think about these five things that are keeping growth from happening in your organization, how do we coach to nurture growth? So in the coaching world, we have a saying. It's funny because it's going to be my next tattoo. It's called the answers lie within, because people are smart. We're smart people. Sometimes we just simply forget to slow down and explore, and we lose our curiosity in the hustle. So we lose the opportunity to grow. So I'm going to go through some questions to help nurture growth as a coach. Asking future focused questions. Where are you feeling stretched right now? Or where are you feeling stuck? Two separate questions, right? We ask questions one at a time. What kind of feedback have you been avoiding asking for? That's that fear, right? And what would help you grow? Those are things that are like ownership, right? You want to make that individual own where their growth is going to go. Stretch and support, right? This is growth that needs to be both a challenge and a net. So when you're working with managers or employees, ask them, what stretch can we create for you that still feels doable? Make them think about what does stretch mean for them? Or where might we need more support? Where might you need more support to make that stretch feel safe so that you can try balance stretch with psychological safety? These are also questions you could be giving to leaders to say, go ask your employees this. Normalize discomfort. One of the things that we saw earlier on, it's a little uncomfortable to sit there and listen and not say anything. We have to learn how to normalize discomfort. What's more uncomfortable? Staying where you are or making a small move toward growth? That's a question to ask the manager, ask the employee. Saying something like, growth doesn't mean getting it right the first time, but we have to create the psychological safety and the psychological bravery of the employee. And this helps us in HR model the growth mindset language because it reduces that fear-based resistance in employees and managers. If we're always trying to continue to add the vernacular, the ways of working that are, I see your hand up, that are focused on growth mindset. Keep it up though. We finish just this one slide and then I'll answer that question. Encourage reflections. Here's the thing, post-event coaching. What surprised you about yourself or the other person or the situation? What would you do differently next time? That's growth. Not just fixing the problem or moving through the discomfort, but taking a minute to breathe and look back. Use those kinds of debrief questions to turn every stretch or every failure into an opportunity. You want to shift from advice giving to curiosity. If there's any word that you guys are going to walk away with, it's curiosity. What kind of learning experience would stretch you right now? That's a good thing to ask. Or if you could build one new capability this quarter, what would make the biggest impact? And then the last one for the nurturing growth questions is promote peer learning. I don't know how many organizations have mentor programs. You don't need to have anything formal. You just need to be able to create an environment where people feel comfortable learning from one another. How are you creating space for your team to take on stretch assignments, Mr. or Mrs. Manager? And where could you give someone else the chance to lead or present, even if it's imperfect? Getting rid of that fear. So you're not just helping the individuals grow, you're helping leaders create ecosystems that help to nurture that growth. And again, these are things that I've worked hand in hand with HR business partners in my coaching groups so that they can, instead of being frustrated and no one stepping up to leadership, right? HR fixed this. When we looked closer, we saw that the culture rewarded perfection, right? Not experimentation. And we kind of rewrote what success metrics look like so that there's some level of calculated risk that everybody's willing to take and some level of peer mentorship. So I see this hand up and that person's name is Stefania. Go for it.
Sorry, I don't want to be an annoyance, but in all what you are saying now, in this nurturing area, what I notice often is that talking about the space to grow, okay, the manager, they do not give that space. That space means to be able to accept that the employee fails, that something is going wrong, and to do not attack the employee just because they failed, but just to take this as an opportunity to show them to do it in a different way, to grow in it, etc., etc. The problem, though, is that are those KPI that push so strongly the manager to deliver. So basically, the manager, they don't have the time to be the good, caring father that everyone need there in some way, because they don't have the time. So my question in my role is how I, as HR, can support, can reduce the time that is required to the manager to provide those KPI. I want to reduce the time around the data rather than taking away the time from that manager to be present with their team. Because the team need the lead. The team need this relationship to be created and stay there. So how, as HR, I can support the manager on the less meaningful task, if you want, because also those require the time that is not there, that is lacking, that is missing. So what we can do for this, Miss?
So I see also that Gerinda, I know I fucked that up, so sorry. Capacity constraints is the
Gajinda.
challenge to coach. I totally get that. So I'm going to give you a question that could work. Again, not knowing your direct situation. Capacity constraints are real, right? We are in a very different world than we were even 5 years ago, 3 years ago. And the speed of change is causing those capacity constraints. We have to, in anything, think about when you're implementing a new HRIS, when you're implementing a new learning and development program, when you're expanding and you're on talent acquisition mode. It's the 80-20 rule. We have to put some investment into the front so that the back end works more smoothly. So we have to find a way to take everything that we wanted to say as a statement and figure out how do we pose it as a question. So could we say something like, what is one small risk, Mr. Manager, that you can take to move this forward to the goal? Maybe it doesn't feel comfortable. Maybe you want to micromanage it, but what is one small thing that you're willing to let somebody else try to do? Or another good question to ask is, so what would growth look like for you in that person's role beyond just getting tasks done? It's a matter of really trying to think to myself, I get it. I'm tasked to the nth degree, but instead of saying something, ask it in a question. I see also some resistance from managers due to performance constraints, however, need to train them to see the benefits, yes. And managers need to explore whether people manager recognizes that any success is through their people. Correct, all of the above. Good portion. So now, if I were to challenge each of you, for Zana and Gurjinder, how do we rephrase that statement into a way that it's a question that we can ask that manager? Knowing good and well that it's something that we believe. Do we know? No, because we don't do their job every day. We do our job every day. But these are good ideas. So how do we move that into a question format when I'm talking to the manager? When they're frustrated, give them space, acknowledge and validate that you're hearing them, stay curious, ask clarifying questions, make sure that you are figuring out future forward questions so that it's always thinking of solutions. This is the difference between what I would call, and I've been doing this, as Christina had said, for far too many years. This is my 34th year doing human resources and coaching. Too often, we know we've done it so much, we're like, here, just try this. But if you can shift the way you approach every conversation as a coaching conversation, that individual is going to come to you more and more often. That individual is going to become more and more enabled. What needs to shift? Enable focus on your people. Yay, good job. See, it takes a minute, but eventually you get used to it. If you aren't reading the chat, you should read the chat. So great question, Stefania. I don't want to give you an answer. I want to encourage you to ask a question on how to get there, but we can definitely talk more. I have a QR code and you can schedule some time. We can talk for about 20 minutes. All right, guys, I'm going to move on because I see I'm kind of running out of time. So let's go through growth mindset. This was first coined by Carol Dweck. It is in most coaching practices because the idea here is it's about the ability and the intelligence that we can develop a way to look at the yet, right? I'm not there yet. And it's not just about the employees, it's about you too. So these next two, I'm going to kind of focus on you and a little bit of a self-coaching opportunity. Because we often feel stuck. We're under-resourced, we're undervalued, we're over-expected, and we hear no a lot. And so we're not necessarily always living in a nurturing growth and a growth mindset, but we're asked to change systems a lot of the time without disturbing anybody else's comfort. And that's what wears us down and our optimism over time. Because a growth mindset is going to help you see things as every conflict is a clue. Every block is an opportunity to pivot. And every awkward meeting is just a rep on courage, the muscle of courage. The brain's neuroplasticity in growth mindset, it means that we literally can rewire how we respond to stress or failure or rejection, but only if we start to notice the current patterns and choose a different internal script. So when you start to hear yourself saying, that leader never listens, they tell me they don't have capacity, they don't know, they don't want to put in the effort, we have to ask ourselves, so what else might be true here? Or what haven't we tried yet? Or who else can I bring in for some perspective? And when we actually do this, people see us modeling this, reframing things, staying open, and being kind to ourselves, they do follow suit. We are innately followers. We have leaders, but even the best leaders are followers. So the more that you can tell your brain, don't get freaked out, let's stay curious, how do I pose this as a question? You can buy time through clarifying questions, through acknowledging and validating, while you're listening, actively listening and feeling, is this person already coming to an answer? Or is this something that I need to continue to ask questions? So that growth mindset needs to be embedded in the way that we handle any kind of situation. So these are some self-coaching. So I told you to get your pieces of paper out. So I want you to tell me, if you could, or not, don't tell me, just write it down because we're coming into time here. If you could think of a current challenge, what's keeping you stuck? This is a you moment. This is a self-coaching opportunity. When you think about any one of your current challenges, what's keeping you stuck? Don't blame somebody else. Don't blame the situation. What is keeping you stuck? And that's where we start to reframe. So if you think, I'm stuck because nobody sees me as a leader, that's a perception of yourself. Now you want to ask yourself, what's the opportunity here that I am not seeing? If you could experiment with one new approach here, what would it be? Or what are you assuming about the situation or about yourself or about another person if you still can't kind of do it internally? That might not be true. What assumption is happening here? And if this situation is here to help you grow in a leadership capacity, what muscle is it trying to build? Write it down, think it out, say what it is in your normal way of saying it, and then let's reframe it in your mind. What's the opportunity here that I'm not seeing? While you guys finish kind of writing that down, somebody, if you guys are more than happy to put this stuff in the chat, say old way of thinking, reframed way of thinking. And while you do that, I'm going to take you through something that's going to, again, another tool, another way of changing your brain, that neuroplasticity, appreciative inquiry. Don't know if anybody's ever heard about appreciative inquiry. It's this cute little book. It's not very big. It's back there on my shelf. But it's about finding what's working, not what's not working. We are so tired of what's the problem here, problem solver mode, right? We need efficiency. We need better performance. What's the deficit-based approach? What's wrong? Appreciative inquiry, is about what's right. What is going right now? And how do we dissect how it's going right and apply it to something that's not going right? This affirmative approach kind of assumes that each human system has a positive core of strength. This was something that I worked out with a CHRO recently, where every time she pitched a new idea, it got blocked. And so we worked on reframing. What if this wasn't resistance from her boss or from the board, but it was a request for more clarity? So what was working in some situations and how do we apply it here? She told me that, it was when the CFO goes and says X, Y, and Z, they get approved. But when I go, I don't get approved. People don't understand what we do sometimes. So it's really not so much a resistance, it's a lack of clarity. So sometimes just slowing down and asking better questions is going to be the way. And then she did. She got what she needed. She definitely was able to get there. So I am going to fly through empowerment real quick so that we can break out into our last session. So empowerment in the change principle may be kind of the scariest. If you are an HR person who is feeling small and you do not know how to stand in your role, then we need to talk about what empowerment means for you. It's real leadership, right? It's that the brain side of it is the micromanaging is not empowerment. That's a fear response and it reduces problem solving. But when you feel empowered, when you feel ownership, autonomy, and you believe in yourself, you're lighting up the reward systems in your brain. And that's when we start acting like leaders. That's when our courage shows up. And empowerment isn't just for others, it's for you. But this exercise of what we're going to go through right now is going to be kind of a culmination of what we've gone through today. So here's what we're going to do. We're not going to stand like super people just yet. We are going to do a poll, our last poll, and we're going to find out what empowerment component is holding us back. So when it comes to empowerment, where do you notice your biggest challenge? Living on the bottom here, all the above. Struggle to, okay, advocate for myself. I see another bump up here, giving others decision-making power. Okay. Stepping back without disappearing. Thank you, Catherine. Yeah. It's part of our role to elevate others, empower others, but that's also what leads to burnout. And it also takes away our influence power. So we want to think about, what do I need to do? Once you know how your own empower component is being impacted from your success, you are much more equipped to help others with finding their power. So let's coach through each one of these. Control bias, that's the first one. I struggle to trust. For those of you who had that, the belief that I don't oversee every detail means quality slips, that is often linked to perfectionism or a fear of being blamed if something goes wrong. And that's totally tied to your amygdala, the fight, flight, freeze. Going to give you some insights into what your blockers are. The next one, this is fear and anxiety. It's usually the internal narrative is if I step back, I'll lose influence or I won't be seen as valuable. Now, this is totally common in HR roles where credibility is often tied to constant involvement. This one here is a fear of failing. The story that is likely being told in your head is if they make a mistake, I'll be the one cleaning it up, or worse, I'll look bad. And this is linked to low trust in others' capability or some sort of unresolved past experiences where maybe delegation might have gone wrong. This next one, had a lot of them. This is self-doubt. This is your internal blocker. Who am I to lead? Who am I to push back? Who am I to take up space? So this is often where HR professionals kind of feel stuck between the serving others and advocating for themselves. And the last one, which was a lot of people, this is your cognitive overload. This is what's burning you out, is all of it. When people feel like they are forced to juggle all of these blockers at once, that is a sign of lack of boundaries, some sort of compassion fatigue, giving too much of yourself. You need to learn, and we can do this through coaching, how to gracefully get out of things so that you can also normalize what a new normal looks like. But if you notice how each of these blockers is driven by a story, you're likely telling yourself. It's about control, relevance, responsibility, or even worthiness. The coaching approach to empowerment isn't about ignoring these fears. Name it, challenge it, and then choose a more empowering story and a behavior instead. So for the next breakout, you're going to coach each other. We're going to put you out in, it looks like we have 50 people, so groups of 10, so we have 5 rooms. And it's going to be about how can we help people get through this? So somebody's going to be a coach, somebody's going to be a coachee. If we can get through 2 people in the time lane, I'm going to only probably do it for about 6 minutes. But coaches, here's where you're going to pull everything together. You're going to ask which one of these blockers is causing this person some sort of emotion, some sort of issue. Be sure to acknowledge and validate. Be sure to ask clarifying questions when and where appropriate. One question at a time. Coach forward. And if necessary, I'm going to say reflect on a time when things worked out. Try to help that person pull something less blocking to the forefront of their mind. And for the coachees, be open to being coached and be honest about the problem and with yourself. It's a vulnerable moment, I know, but the answers are already within you. So you've got this. And I'm going to give you guys some questions to prepare you. I'm going to put these into the chat as soon as I can figure out how to move my stuff. Give me 1 second. You can see them on the screen now. And I'm also going to just copy these. I'm going to stick these in the chat. So we are coming to the point where if you are interested in starting to bring this in, these are questions that you're going to want. These are questions that are going to help you get to the next portion of being a coach in your role. If you are coaching someone, and you're going to be able to figure out what their issue is. Here is where you're going to be able to ask some questions, but you probably have your own. These are just suggestions. So I'm going to ask Christina now to go ahead and put people in their rooms.
Okay, it's actually starting to assign people.
Excellent.
Okay, they're all moving over.
I see them finally moving. Okay.
There's 21 unassigned. Let's see here.
The same sticky ones as last time.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna stay here, and we're gonna if I'm gonna voluntold some people. So I see on my screen right now, I see Kim Jennings and I see Nori. Can you two turn on your cameras? Beautiful. There's Kim. Nori, can you hear me? All right, for time's sake, Julie, can you hear me?
Yes.
Fantastic. Can you turn your camera on? Excellent. All right.
Oh,
Oh, Nori, there you are. It's okay. You can
yeah,
just listen.
I can hear you, but I have my little baby here, so I'm trying to get her to sleep, so I wouldn't be able to speak if you don't mind.
No, no,
please.
that's fine. No. I'll have Julie and Lori do it. Yeah, I'll have Julie and Lori do it.
Thank you.
All right, so Julie, why don't you be the coach and Laura, go ahead and turn your camera back on. Why don't you be the coachee? Laura, can you hear me?
Laura, she'll have to take her mute off as well to tell me
Yes.
the situation.
Okay.
She's vanished.
I think she might have, I'm not sure. Tia, can you hear me? Okay. I'll be the coach.
Do you want me to do it? I was going to, do you want me to do
Jillian,
it?
that would be great. Do you want to be the coachee? Fantastic.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so
Okay.
Julie, I turn it over to you. You're the coach. Let's find out how to help Jillian.
Hi, Julie.
Hello, Gillian.
Hi.
Tell me a little bit about what's going on with you in the team at the moment.
Yeah, my issue is that I don't really know where my operating space is. So I'm feeling a bit unempowered, but I know it's all down to me, and it's around my lack of clarity as to how far I can push myself into the space, what permission I've got.
Is this a recent role?
It's a very recent situation in a role that I've had for quite a long time.
And what has changed to suddenly make you question the boundaries or the autonomy that you have?
I think the risks are higher for the whole organisation of getting something wrong, and so everybody's on hyper alert, I think. And people who would usually speak quite freely and openly are being more guarded, which I think is causing me to be a bit more guarded as well.
What do you perceive to be the risk of continuing with the autonomy or the questioning that you've demonstrated before?
I think because the stakes are quite high for the organisation, I'm a bit worried that I will upset people, and I'm worried that I will lose some credibility that I've already got as the person who challenges. So almost I lose some permission to challenge because in a more tense situation, others really won't want to be challenged so much. At the moment, I'm the person who they look to challenge, and I have a happy status, but the risks haven't been this high before.
I'm trying not to go into solution.
I know. It's okay.
That's okay. That's okay.
This is why we have these workshops.
Yep. You said you're concerned about upsetting people.
Yeah.
Do you believe you've upset people before?
No. Well, during my life, yes, but not in this particular group of people. I think no, I haven't. And there's a good trusting relationship built over 3 years.
So that's two excellent foundation. I'd like to
Yeah.
understand what I hear. There's the risks in the organization are higher. What is stopping you to use your good anchors now of trust and constructive challenge that's welcomed without upsetting the colleague so far?
I think it's just my sense that the individuals that I'm talking about are feeling very vulnerable. So I'm talking particularly about the CEO in this organization, who, if we get to the point where we have to close down the charity, which is a possibility, will lose a job that she's had for like 18 years. And of course, she feels very responsible for all of the staff in the organisation as well. So I observed yesterday a conversation where I think she was very close on being tearful, and she's usually a very resilient person. So I'm cautiously manoeuvring, I think, around rather than into the space, and I probably need more to be in it.
So is your behavior driven by them rather than you?
No, it's definitely my own responsibility.
Okay.
And my own fear of not wanting to, I suppose, be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Ask the question that will draw the person into a position where they're very overtly vulnerable. They might need to go to vulnerability in order for us to help them, but that feels like something that needs to happen more privately than in the board setting.
And is this something you've done before?
In
individually?
Other settings.
Yeah.
In other settings, yeah. So my instinct is to take it away and have more one-to-one time with the individual. I just want to be sure that the board would be happy for me to take that role and occupy that operating space.
Sounds like you have an idea of a solution.
Mm.
What I'm hearing is that you're questioning your autonomy to pursue, to engage in that solution.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Maybe just 3 months ago or 3 weeks ago, I'm not too sure, you would not have questioned it.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
that's right.
So seeing as you're proposing an individual conversation, it's going to be limited. I'm telling you the solution.
It's okay. This is great, Julie. Good job. Good job.
Do you feel able to have that conversation on a one-to-one?
Yeah, I think if I was coaching me at the moment, I'd say, what's the next step that you can take?
What's the
conversation you need to have next, and who is it with?
Yeah, good job. That's thinking forward. I love, Julie, you did a great job asking if there was experience in the past and what did it look like. That was awesome. Couple of little close-ended questions. Is this, do you, just things to, they can be clarifying questions. We just need to rework that a little bit so that we're offering not only an answer, if you will, because I think you wanted to make sure that they had some point of reference so that you could ask the next question, but we can definitely learn how to reword that so that it's all encompassing to keep them talking and keep that self-exploration going. That was really good. And at one point though, Jillian, and I don't think Julie picked up on it, you're more concerned, or you pivoted your coaching to what somebody else is feeling. This is about you.
Yeah.
So that, Julie, is something that we far too often see in coaching, is, especially when I'm coaching HR people, is I'm worried about so-and-so. Okay,
Yeah.
you can worry about so-and-so. Tell me why you are worried about so-and-so.
Right. Okay.
You know, it's a
Yeah.
you thing. So what is this causing in you? So great job, guys. Christina, can we go ahead and bring everybody back?
Thanks, Julie.
Sure, will do. Okay, they're all moving back in.
Fantastic. So I will be
Well,
super.
yeah.
What are you gonna say? 23. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and keep going. So I want to be very respectful of time. You guys are 5 hours ahead of me. So it's 8 o'clock. I am going to just briefly kind of show you. I was going to go through a little empowerment exercise with some dancing and music, but I totally get that we are running out of time. And this one I'm going to kind of fly through as well, which is coaching's going to take you out of firefighter, out of fixer, and into influencer. You've probably just had this, opportunity to trip up on some questions, asking, talking about yourself, talking about others in that little coaching thing, coaching breakout. So what we're learning is we have room to grow and really know what it means to embrace a coaching approach to an HR role. And I would just love to, we're going to give you some takeaways. I'm going to give it to Christina to send to anybody who has shown up here today and even didn't show up. These are the tools. I've made it digestible and easy for HR professionals who already have a job to do, right? We need to find the moments when a coaching approach, a coaching mindset, a coaching framework can help myself, my team, the leaders within my organization, and the organization as a whole. And this is just a very simple way without having to go through 6 months of coaching $15,000 things and then still having to try to figure it out. Because let's face it, coaches are not HR people, and they don't necessarily know what we go through on a daily basis. And taking my 34 years of HR and my 20 plus years of coaching and knowing when and where it fits most organically is kind of what I was trying to do today.